Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news-making headlines today. U.S. President Donald Trump met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on Thursday for high-stakes summit talks. Xi personally welcomed Trump outside Beijing's Great Hall of the People, greeting him at the start of the two-day trip with a handshake. Before their closed-door summit, where trade and geopolitics are reportedly on the agenda, both leaders made opening remarks. Xi expressed a wish for China and the U.S. to be partners, not rivals, while Trump followed by calling his counterpart a great leader. The evening schedule consists of a joint tour of the Temple of Heaven, followed by a state banquet. On Friday, Trump and Xi are scheduled to meet for a photo session, followed by tea and a lunch meeting. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he secretly visited the United Arab Emirates during the recent war with Iran and held talks with UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. According to Netanyahu's office, the meeting resulted in what it described as a historic breakthrough between the two countries. However, the UAE quickly denied the claim, calling reports of Netanyahu's visit entirely unfounded. In a statement, the UAE Foreign Ministry said relations with Israel are conducted openly under the framework of the Abraham Accords and are not based on unofficial or non-transparent arrangements. The ministry also denied reports that any Israeli military delegation had entered the country. The Abraham Accords were signed during U.S. President Donald Trump's first term and established normalized relations between Israel and several Arab states, including the UAE. Korea's fiscal balance improved in the first quarter of 2026 year-on-year, posting the smallest deficit for the same period in 6 years. The Ministry of Planning and Budget said Thursday that the managed fiscal balance recorded a 39.6 trillion won deficit as of March, equivalent to roughly $26.5 billion. That marks the lowest first-quarter deficit since 2020, as tax revenue growth outpaced the increase in government expenditure. National tax revenue saw a sharp on-year increase of 15.5 trillion won, while government spending rose 1.7 trillion won over the same period. With less than 3 weeks left, local elections are entering a decisive phase here in Korea as candidates move from preliminary campaigning to officially registering to run for office. The ruling Democratic Party and main opposition People Power Party are wrapping up their candidate lineups, as contenders now formally join the race through the official registration process on May 14th and 15th, leaving around 20 days till the vote. All 16 mayor and governor candidate lineups have been finalized. Official campaigning will begin on May 21st, with candidates taking part in street rallies and televised debates. Early voting is scheduled for May 29th and 30th, while the main election will take place on June 3rd. The U.S. Senate has confirmed Kevin Warsh as the next Federal Reserve Chair. The most partisan Fed confirmation vote in American history saw a 54-45 split on Wednesday, as inflation accelerates to its fastest pace in 3 years, and rate hikes are now openly on the table. Warsh takes over from Jerome Powell, whose term ends on Friday. Trump, currently in China, has signaled he will sign the paperwork immediately. The president picked Warsh expecting him to cut rates, but producer prices jumped 6% in April, the fastest pace since 2022, making cuts increasingly difficult to justify. Markets now expect no rate cuts this year and a possible hike next year. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.